All right, Shalom. I want to start off as always by giving all praises and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Bahashim, Racha HaKodash. Divine is unto the apostles, the elders, and the bishops of Great Millstone. I want to send much love unto the brothers out there doing his work in truth and sincerity. And I also want to send peace and blessings unto the believers of the hopeful elect. And in this morning's lesson, I wanted to get into the book of Romans, chapter 1, verse 25 to 32, here in detail. And as you can see, I have Grok 3 pulled up to go into the details of Romans 1:25 through 32. And I pray this edifying, all right? Grok gives some good detail, some good historical detail about the Roman Empire, the Greco-Roman Empire, and just the filth that was involved in, all right? And how pretty much Jake, who rejected the Most High, who was, living as a heathen, man, that was in that filth as well, all right? And the same thing today, bro, the Jakes who don't accept the Most High, the Jakes who don't accept his word, man, the Lord has given them over to some very vile, disgusting things, all right? Things that'll make your stomach turn, things that'll make you, vomit, all right? When you hear about the things that Jake is involved in. But that's a result of, rejecting the Most High and his word. He gives you over to the power of the flesh, man, unto the lust of it, okay? And that can lead you into anything, right? And this is why Paul lists out various things that are pretty much of the flesh, okay? That has Jake hooked on. That has Jake, pretty much living in this weird way of life, all right? So, without further ado, I'll hop into this thing, man. So I asked him, I said, explain Romans 1:25-32 in detail. It says, Romans 1:25-32, part of Paul's letter to the Romans in the New Testament, all right, in which these Romans, so-called, they were Israelites who were scattered in Rome, okay? They weren't Edomites or white people. No, they were Israelites dwelling in Rome, okay? It says, is a passage that describes the consequences of humanity's rejection of the Most High. Really, it should say the Israelites, okay? Because humanity never worshiped the Most High. The Israelites worshiped the Most High. The Lord gave these heathens over to serving idols, okay? They never knew the Most High, bro. All right? They heard about the Most High, but they never knew him personally. Amos 3:1 and 2, okay? So it's really the Israelites' rejection of the Most High and the resulting moral and spiritual decline. To provide a detailed explanation, I'll break down the passage verse by verse, okay, so on and so forth. So, getting into this here, right, it says verse by verse explanation. Romans 1:25. They exchanged the truth about the Most High for a lie. Who did that? Who did that? Did the world do that? Or the Israelites? It was the Israelites who did that, man. Okay? Certain Israelites. It says, and worship and served created things rather than the Creator, who is forever praised. Amen. Certain Jakes did that. Okay? They once knew the Most High, but they started to serve created things, idols, right? Animals, as God, right? Rather than serving the creator of these things. Okay? It says, key idea, humanity's fundamental sin is exchanging the truth of the Most High for a lie. Should say the Israelites. Prioritizing created things, idols, material objects, or self over the Creator. And it's the same thing today. Okay? The same thing you see today, bro. Especially I see it, with my job. I get a chance to go into people's homes. All right? And from Christians to Buddhists to whatever, they all got idols, man, and material objects that they have in their houses as a shrine, as a place of worship. Okay, especially amongst the Northern Kingdom, man, they are heavy into idolatry, man. They are heavy into the worship of these idols, right? Southern Kingdom too, but it is really apparent amongst Northern Kingdom, man. They got idols of Mary, Jesus, Peter, everybody. Paintings and candles lit, 1,000 crosses on their walls. I mean, just being ridiculous. But in their mind, that's serving the Most High. That's serving the Lord Yahushua in their minds. But it's not. That's far from the truth. It says, explanation, Paul emphasizes idolatry as a root issue. And that's the same thing that's spoken about in Wisdom of Solomon 14th chapter, I believe. How idolatry is the root issue of what we see today in the world, man. It says, the truth about the Most High refers to his existence, power, and divine nature evident through creation. Romans 1:20. The lie is the false belief that created things or human constructs can replace the Most High. This could include physical idols common in Greco-Roman culture, or metaphorical idols like wealth, power, and self-worship, right? You have all this still going on in the world today, especially in these times, with the advent of the internet, with Instagram and all these things. People, worship money, right? Power, themselves, okay? Because they got thousands of likes on Instagram and, millions of followers, 100,000 of followers, Twitch streams, all this stuff. They feel important. They feel like they're God, in their own little world. But it's a delusion. It's a false delusion, man. It says the phrase "worshipped and served created things" reflects the human tendency to elevate the temporal over the eternal. The doxology, who is forever praised our men, underscores the Most High's unchanging worthiness, contrasting human rebellion with divine glory. It says, cultural context, in the first century Greco-Roman world, idolatry was rampant, with temples dedicated to gods like Zeus, Apollo, or local deities. Paul's Israelite background also informs his critique, as idolatry was a central concern in the Old Testament, right? In the Greco-Roman world, man, you had idols and gods everywhere, okay? It's the same thing in this world today, too. All right, they call it the Christian church. It's a place of idolatry. All right, they call themselves reading the Bible foolish. They're foolish. But just because they have a Bible in there, people think, oh, yeah, this got to be a place of the Most High God, We praising him and, You're not worshiping the Most High, man. You created some BS and then you're trying to throw Throw the Bible in the midst of it, try to make it true. No, sir. Romans 1, 26, 27, it says, because of this, God gave them over to shameful lusts. Even their women exchange natural sexual relations for unnatural ones. Meaning what? Women with women. That's rampant in the earth today, man. It was going on back in the old times, but matter of fact, it never stopped. It never stopped. This has been happening, man, throughout human history. But with Jake, though, that's what the focus on. The focus is on Jake. The Most High gave Jake over to that crazy stuff. Jake wasn't supposed to be living like that. But you see it amongst our people, man. And it's a goddamn shame. Seeing our women out here through, thinking they're men, all right? Looking crazy as hell. Looking nasty as hell, all right? It's unnatural. And that's not sex, okay? Two women can't have sex. But you bring it in, these toys and objects trying to be men. And I mean, it's just craziness, man. It's craziness on all levels, okay? It's sick. It says, in the same way, the men also abandoned natural relations with women and were inflamed with lust for one another. Men committing shameful acts with other men and received in themselves the due penalty of their error. So we know what they're talking about, okay? Fruit fly behavior, same sex, or relations, man. The Most High gave Jake over to that, man. And that's scary, brother. That is scary. And I mean, not that Jake can be redeemed from it, because you had brothers back then who were in their lifestyle in the Greco-Roman Empire, man, who were doing that stuff. Okay? But the blood of Yahushua, covered that transgression, man. But I'm talking about the Jakes who are pretty much just stuck in that lifestyle, man. Lord have mercy, man. I mean, you behaving like that, man. You just need to be. You gotta just go, bro. Okay? Because your whole nature as a man is just pretty much corrupted, man. It's corrupted, man. It says, key idea, as a consequence of rejecting the Most High, humanity, it should say the Israelites, is given over to degrading passions, with same-sex relations cited as an example of behavior contrary to the Most High design, right? The Lord made man and woman to procreate and bring forth life. Two women and two men together, right? Same-sex relations, they can't bring forth life, which shows you that that's not, it's not supposed to go down like that. But yet, man is out here doing it, calling it love. Love is love. Some sick stuff, man. It says, explanation, the phrase God gave them over, used 3 times in Romans 1, 24, 26, 28, indicates the Most High's do a judicial response. He allows people to experience the consequences of their choices by withdrawing his restraining grace. This is not God causing sin, but permitting humanity to follow its sinful desires, right? The Lord pretty much, just giving you over to it. The flesh, okay? The flesh, man, is a wicked thing. It says Paul highlights same-sex relations as an example of shameful lust that deviate from the natural understood as God's intended design for human sexuality, rooted in creation. See Genesis 1:27, Genesis 2:24. The mention of both women and men engaging in these acts underscores the widespread nature of this rebellion, right? It's sick. It says, cultural context. In the Greco-Roman world, same-sex relationships, particularly between men, were common, often in the form of a pederasty, I guess that, which is pretty much, a PDF files, okay, or relationships marked by power imbalances. Okay, this here, man, that was common in Rome. Okay, grown men who are with little children. Okay, grown men with little children, man. Paul speaks about that, right? They were known as catamites. All right, that's the word that they use. 6 and 9. Yeah, I think the word is like catamites. I want you to look it up. Yeah, man, this was normal back in Rome, bro. Like they, you saw grown men out with, out with children as a normal thing, just, Lord have mercy. I think it's on this one here. Malachos.
Strong's G 3120. Malachos.
Right. Soft to touch, effeminate of a catamite. Which was pretty much a little boy. Okay. That they pretty much use as a sex slave of some sort. So it says, the Bible does not directly use the term catamite. However, the concept of sexual exploitation of boys is present in some interpretation of biblical passages, particularly regarding the prohibition of male homosexual acts. The term catamite generally refers to a boy kept for sexual purposes. While the term itself isn't in the Bible, the idea of a pederasty, sexual relation between older men and young boys, is condemned in various passages. Okay, and you had that nigga, what's his name, Sinetta, talking about, show me in the Bible where pedophilia is wrong. You niggas are sick, man. You niggas are sick. Okay? You think the Most High God is okay with some damn pedophilia, nigga? Some homosexual pedophilia acts. You're sick, bro. You guys are bugged out. But that was common, man. It's like back then, bro. That was common, bro. That shit's sick. But guess what? It's happening today. It's just not public. But it's happening. Okay? It's happening, man. Hundreds of thousands of kids go missing every single year. All right? What you think happening? People snatching them up, man, for sexual purposes. Okay? It says Paul's critique likely targets these exploitative practices, though his language is broad. The due penalty could refer to spiritual, physical, and social consequences, e.g., diseases, broken relationships with spiritual alienation, though Paul doesn't specify. Theological note, this passage is often debated in modern discussions about sexuality. Some interpret it as a blanket condemnation of all same-sex relationships, while others argue it addresses um, uh, it, it addresses specific cultural practices, e.g., idolatrous and exploitative acts. The text focuses on behavior driven by lust and rebellion, not orientation of modern concepts of identity. Yeah, bro. Paul is very clear. The Bible is very clear, man. You people are sick. Okay, people are sick, man. And this is why the Lord coming back to destroy this stuff, bro. He's coming back to put an end to it. This is why Yahweh has to come back, man. To just put a stop to all of the wickedness and the abominations that goes on in the world, man. When the kingdom of heaven is established, there will be no pedophilia going on, no human trafficking, okay? None of this sick stuff is not going to happen. So I'm going to start right here. Okay, I got to go do something real quick, man. But the point being that I wanted to highlight is how the Most High gave our people over to this stuff, man. It's crazy, okay? And you see Jake in the world, man. You go out, bro. Go to an all-black function. What you're going to see in that function is a bunch of twisted people, man. Okay? A bunch of twisted people, man. Sick. But I'm going to close out there, bro. I pray it was edifying. Shalom.